I'm Mike Sanders, a 30-year-old office worker. I'm an editor at a major publishing house. Being a bookworm, I majored in literature in college, so I'm living pretty fulfilling days. The only thing missing is a girlfriend, but unfortunately, I've had no experience with dating women so far. Mike, we've got a new writer coming to the editorial department today. I want you to handle the meeting. Just as the editor-in-chief instructed, I started preparing for the meeting. In fact, a few days ago, our company held an essay contest, and I was assigned to handle the winner. The new writer is a woman, using the pen name Mary Caro. I haven't met her directly yet, but her work was really interesting. As an editor, I was proud to meet a writer with talent, but I was stunned by the person who showed up at the meeting booth. To my surprise, the person standing in front of me was my old crush, Kathy. As expected, Kathy was shocked to see me. "What? No way. I can't believe Mike works for this publisher." I was so engrossed in her pen name that I didn't notice, but her real name, Kathy Capra, was indeed written on the documents the editor-in-chief gave me. Despite being taken aback by this unexpected turn of events, we got down to business immediately. "I've read your work, Kathy, and it's really interesting. We'd like to have you continue to write a regular column for our magazine, so today we'll discuss the details. We also conduct reader surveys in the magazine, so let's aim for the top ranking together." As I handed her the documents and looked straight into Kathy's face for the first time in 10 years. Kathy's beauty hadn't faded at all. She was even more attractive than before. She is 2 years older than me, but her skin is still fair and firm, and her black hair is shiny and full of moisture. Her casual attire, a white blouse paired with dark brown chinos, gave off an air of a sophisticated adult woman. I was completely engrossed in her, listening to her explain her work. When she began to speak, her gaze still fixed on the documents in front of her. "Thanks. Actually, I've always had this admiration for being a writer. After college, I went back home and got a job, but I just couldn't give up on my dream. So, I moved back to New York and worked as a freelance writer." "I see. Your writing skills were definitely stand out in our club back in college." I meant it as a compliment, but the moment I said it, I noticed her face go pale. She must have remembered that incident from 10 years ago as a bitter memory. I regretted my comment immediately and tried to change the subject. Here's my business card. If you ever have any questions, feel free to contact me anytime. Thank you for your time today." As I bowed my head after saying that, Kathy responded with a somewhat tired expression, "Thank you too," and then left the meeting room. Phew. The moment she was gone, I heaved a deep sigh. In fact, we had a history like this. 10 years ago, Kathy and I were in the same literature club at college. Kathy, being beautiful, was admired by everyone around her, considered the club's idol. I also had a secret crush on her. "Mike, I read your review in this Mint's journal. It's really interesting." "Thank you. I enjoyed your serial novel too." "Really, that makes me happy." With that, Kathy turned to me with a smile as bright as the sun. I was a bit of an introvert, but her cheerful and spontaneous nature had a way of melting my defenses. Sadly, my love stood no chance. That's because she already had a lover. "Kathy, let's head home together." "Oh, okay. I'm coming now." As soon as Kathy saw her boyfriend, Joe, she gleamed with joy and rushed off to join him. Seeing them walk side by side, I thought to myself again, they are really a good match. Joe was the handsome guy from the literature club, and they were well known as a good-looking couple. There was probably no space for an ordinary guy like me in between them. I kept telling myself that, but one day after school, Kathy suddenly asked me, "Want to grab a drink?" There was a heavy rain warning that day, so like other students, I was planning to head home early. However, she insisted, I really want to drink, and eventually I gave in. There was something off about her that day, and I could sense it. My gut feeling turned out to be right, as she quickly downed her drinks at a fast pace. It wasn't about having fun, but more like she was drinking just to get drunk. Although I was worried about her, she reassured me, I'm fine, and kept guzzling down alcohol like water. As expected, when we left the bar, a severe storm was raging. As I hailed a cab for Kathy, who was dizzy on her feet from intoxication, she looked at me with a flushed face and asked, "How are you getting home, Mike? I'll grab another cab after this." "You don't need to do that, you could just stay at my place." "How about that? Let's do it." With that, she leaned snugly against my arm. At that moment, my heart pounded wildly, like it was sounding a premature alarm. Sweet temptation from the woman I admired. I agonized over what to do, but in the end, I did not agree to it. "Kathy, if you surrender yourself to the momentum of intoxication, you'll surely regret it. Please take care of yourself." When I told her that, Kathy looked down without a word. Just at that moment, the taxi arrived. After seeing her off, I immediately began to run towards my apartment. Getting wet in the rain didn't matter at that moment. I was confused by her sudden offer, and at the same time deeply self-loathing that I had even for a moment thought of taking it up. To shake off such distracting thoughts, I ran fervently through the rain. "Kathy, you have such a wonderful lover. Why would you invite someone like me?" Several days later, when I showed up at the club, Kathy interacted with me as if nothing had happened. Despite that, given what had happened, I couldn't shake off the awkwardness. As I was worrying, the club president suddenly suggested, "Let's hang out at Mike's place for a change." Actually, my apartment was right next to the university and had become a hangout for everyone. As expected, Kathy was going to come as well, so I headed towards my apartment with everyone, feeling a mix of emotions. Oblivious to our feelings, the other members were whooping it up and having a great time. Eventually, it turned into a let's just stay the night situation, so we filled the room with mattresses and decided to have a sleepover. Because I was drunk, I fell into a deep sleep but woke up suddenly in the early morning. Just when I tried to go back to sleep, I heard a sobbing sound from somewhere, and curious, I slowly turned my gaze. The one who was crying was Kathy. Kathy. In the midst of everyone else's deep sleep, there was one person drenching their mattress with tears, my senior. I couldn't take my eyes off her, and I was sneaking peeks at her from a crack in my sleeping bag. What could have happened? I was compelled to reach out to her, but I didn't want to disturb the others who were sleeping. After a few hours, as everyone started to wake up, Kathy stopped crying and started putting on makeup at the sink as if trying to hide her swollen eyes. While I was completely preoccupied with Kathy, I got out of the mattress to match the waking time of everyone else. And later, I came to understand the reason behind Kathy's tears. It turned out she had just broken up with her boyfriend, Joe. Indeed, Joe wasn't there when we had a gathering at my apartment before. After hearing about their breakup, I finally understood why Kathy had invited me for drinks. She must have been feeling lonely. She probably just needed someone to lean on, to distract herself from her sadness. Though I wanted to see Kathy again, she told me, "I'm busy job hunting," and stopped showing up to the club. Given her breakup with Joe, it might have been harder for her to come to the club. And so, we grew apart. Kathy graduated from college, and 10 years passed just like that. Even now, she remains a special person to me, which is what I haven't been able to commit to a relationship with anyone since then. But since we've managed to reunite, I'd like to be good business partners. We did start off with an awkward vibe at work, but as soon as I read Kathy's draft, we quickly broke the ice. Your new work is excellent, Kathy. With this, we can definitely aim for the top in the survey results. Really, we did it. As I had predicted, Kathy's new essay won first place in the magazine's reader survey. We were overjoyed with this good news and decided to have a celebration party that very night. Even though the forecast was calling for heavy rain, Kathy said, "I'll grab a cab home," so we decided to stop at the bar near the office. It's close to my apartment, and as long as Kathy can catch a taxi, we'll be fine. It had been a while since I'd had drinks with Kathy, but the food was good and the conversation flowed more enjoyably than I had expected. With this atmosphere, I felt that we could build a good working relationship. As I was drinking and enjoying the moment, Kathy suddenly started speaking with a serious expression on her face. "I've been meaning to apologize for a long time. I'm truly sorry for what happened 10 years ago. It was rude of me." Instantly, I realized what Kathy was referring to, that rainy night. "No, it's okay. Don't worry about it. And you had your own issues at that time, right? Ah, you're talking about Joe. Yes, he had a habit of cheating on me, but I was in love with him, so I kept forgiving him every time. But when I found out he brought another woman into our room, I couldn't bear it anymore and broke up with him." Wait, Joe cheated on you? I was genuinely surprised to hear this. I had thought they were perfectly happy together. When I looked at Kathy's face, it had fallen into a gloomy expression. "But that doesn't excuse what I did to you, Mike. But because you treated me kindly, I feel really saved now. Thank you, truly." Knowing about her painful past, I felt deeply sympathetic. I had absolutely no intention of blaming her. "It's okay. It's been 10 years. Let's let bygones be bygones. I want to create a lot of wonderful works together with you from now on. Thank you, Mike." And so, we cleared up past misunderstandings, our feelings renewed, and we toasted to a fresh start. We left the bar in high spirits and tried to hail a taxi, but all the cab companies were booked solid. Apparently, there was a concert in the neighborhood, and all the taxis were pre-booked because of it. To make matters worse, the trains were also delayed, and Kathy, who lived in the suburbs, couldn't get home. Seeing Kathy distressed, saying, "What should I do?" I bravely suggested to her, "Kathy, if you'd like, why don't you stay over at my place?" Normally, I wouldn't dare make such a bold suggestion, but being a little tipsy gave me the courage. As I nervously awaited Kathy's response, she let out a sigh of relief. "Thank you, that would be wonderful." However, once we got to my apartment, there was only one bed. I offered Kathy the bed and told her, "I'll sleep on the couch," and was about to head to the living room. To my surprise, Kathy suddenly hugged me from behind. Too shocked to move, I froze, and then she slowly spoke. "Don't go, Mike. We finally got together. I don't want to be apart from you anymore." "Yeah, Kathy, what's going on?" "There was one thing I couldn't tell you when we were drinking earlier. I've been in love with you since that rainy night." "What?" At Kathy's words, my mind went blank. I never thought Kathy could have feelings for me. Before I knew it, Kathy was crying. At that time, I was really at the end of my rope. I was betrayed by Joe, whom I loved, so many times that I didn't even care what would happen to me. But you were there for me, telling me to take care of myself. I was always sacrificing myself for Joe, so I was even happier to hear your kindness. I realized I had been looking for someone like you all along. Listening to her, my resentment for Joe grew stronger. The fact that he had hurt her so much, I could never forgive him. That's why I felt I couldn't face you, so I stopped going to the club. I tried to forget about you and make up for the past, but the moment I saw you, I couldn't stop my feelings of love. Kathy, unable to stand it any longer, I faced her and hugged her tightly. I was filled with such love for her, I couldn't help myself. I like you too, Kathy. I've never been able to forget you. Mike, I'm so happy. After confirming our feelings for each other, we decided to sleep together in the same bed. I remember when I insisted on going home in the heavy rain, I panicked. We really haven't grown at all, have we? With that, Kathy chuckled next to me. To which I said, well, you were pretty drunk at that time. Are you sure you won't regret it? I can sleep on the couch if you want. However, Kathy shook her head vehemently. No, I'll never regret it. After all, I truly love you. With that, she closed her eyes, so I said nothing more and stroked her hair gently. I want to make her happy no matter what. With that thought in my heart, I drifted off to sleep, ending a special night. And so, we officially began dating. Afterwards, Kathy continued her writing work smoothly, and even published a book of essays a year after her debut. As a talented and beautiful female writer, Kathy garnered popularity and even managed to host autograph sessions in bookstores. A lot of fans visited the autograph session, and I accompanied her as her supporter. Just when the autograph session was about to end, I heard a familiar voice. Wow, Kathy, you've become quite famous. Joe. To our surprise, standing in front of us was Joe, Kathy's ex-boyfriend. Upon seeing him, Kathy became wary, but suddenly, Joe bowed his head deeply. Kathy, I truly regret that I hurt you back in college. Joe's sudden apology caught both Kathy and me off guard. This was because Joe was known for his arrogant personality during his college years, infamous for never apologizing even when he was clearly in the wrong. Yet now, he was apologizing for his past actions. What could have possibly happened to him? As we watched in silence, Joe slowly began to speak. Kathy, I was really impressed when I read your work. In fact, I've always admired writers and quit my job to work as a freelancer, but unlike you, I've not been able to achieve any results, and embarrassingly, I'm barely scraping by using my savings. Joe, who used to be quite fashionable, was now donning a worn-out jacket and looked tired. Seeing Joe in such a state, Kathy seemed to feel sorry for him. Back in college, I was so full of myself, thinking that I had the talent to be a writer, but now, I feel like I'm being punished for my past arrogance. After reading your work, I just couldn't sit still and came here to this autograph session. I know an apology won't fix everything, but I'm really sorry. As a person and as a writer, I truly respect you. Joe's sincere remorse was palpable as he apologized. It seemed that he had grown as a person through his setbacks. Kathy remained silent for a while, but finally spoke up. Joe, please lift your head. Your apology has helped me find closure. What matters is not the past but the future. I look forward to reading your work in public again, so please keep working hard. Kathy, thank you. After that, Joe turned to me. You're Mike, right? Kathy's junior from college. You bring out the best in Kathy, and that's truly amazing. I'm glad that a wonderful man like you has become Kathy's new partner. Thank you for your kind words. I'm also looking forward to reading your work, Joe. After that, Joe said, as a reminder to myself, and bought a copy of Kathy's book, got her autograph, and left. We watched him leave with a sense of relief and then looked at each other. Things were tough back then, but now, even my past with Joe has become a sweet memory. That's right. Let's keep creating wonderful memories together. Saying that, I firmly squeezed Kathy's left hand. Incidentally, her platinum engagement ring gleams on the ring finger of her left hand. The Literature Club, where I met Joe and Kathy, holds many deep memories. With this day etched in our hearts, aspiring writers like us will take our first steps towards our respective futures. How did you like today's story? Your subscription and hitting the like button help to motivate us in our work. We look forward to reading your comments too. See you again in our next video.